wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Story of my life.
There was this book that they had purchased called Nothing Lasts Forever by Roderick Thorp, and that the studio thought there could be a good movie there.
Quite frankly, I had no idea what to do with it, but I knew that I needed to make a living, and there was no bearer bonds, there was no explosion at the top of the building. There was a lot that was not there.
The book was a sequel to a book called The Detective that had been made into a movie with Frank Sinatra.
And so they actually had to go back to Frank Sinatra to say, we're going to make a sequel to that book, would you like to be in it? And fortunately, he basically said, I'm too old and too rich and I'll pass, which is good because the chases would have been on Rascals in the building had he taken it.
Since when did you start using Ms. Gennaro?
I was trying to figure it out, so I was working late hours, had a young family. I came home one night and got into a fight with my wife. Like a lot of husbands who get in fights with their wives are right.
I know exactly what your idea of our marriage should be.
But I was too stubborn to apologize at the moment, so after I had dinner with the family and kissed my children, put them in bed, I went back down to the studio, and I should have said sorry as I walked out the door, and I didn't, and I got on the 134 going down to Burbank from Pasadena, and I got behind a truck that was carrying refrigerators and washers and dryers, and one of the refrigerator boxes flew out the back. I couldn't get out of the lane. I'm going 65 miles an hour. I went right through it. And fortunately, it was the end of the day, and it was empty. And Hart's just going, a million times a minute, thinking I could have been dead. I was dead. And I suddenly realized what Nothing Lasts Forever was. It was about not a 65-year-old man. It's about a 35-year-old man who should have said he's sorry to his wife, and then terrorists take over the building.
Boom! 2 points.
I'd done a movie with Joel Silver. It was called Predator. He sent me this script. I sent it back. I said, thanks, no. Because it was a terrorist story. It was terrorists take over a building and, we're going to wipe out terrorists. And there's no fun in terrorism. There's no joy in it. And I said, could we make this a robbery? Everybody likes robbers. You can have fun. A robber, even a bad robber, is fun. He's interesting.
What kind of terrorists are you?
Who said we were terrorists?
I have to, from hindsight, even though Joel and I have not spent years being good buddies, I have to, from hindsight, give him credit for that. He had the nerve to do it.
I mean, the book was called, again, Nothing Lasts Forever, and I said, we cannot call this movie that name. We cannot call that. And Shane Black, who was a friend of mine, who had been working on a project that eventually became Last Boy Scout, and he had given me some pages under a title called Die Hard.
And I thought, it sounds a whole lot better than Nothing Lasts Forever.
And I remember there was a lot of opposition to that, too. I got a letter from Roderick Thorp saying, how could you name my movie after a battery? This is ridiculous. I mean, people will only think if it's about a battery.
Joel said the best thing that ever happened to your book is making this movie, Die Hard, and so that was the end of that conversation.
Well, they had a script that had already been written that stuck fairly close to the novel with some really clever reinventions that Jeb Stuart had done. Joel brought me in and said, I need this picture rewritten like ahead of the cameras, and I know you can do that.
Action! For all of us as a group to say, we don't know exactly how this is going to work out, or what the specifics along the way, but we've got the tune. We can hum the melody, if you will. We don't know what the words are yet, but we can hum it. We know what the song is.
It's quite a place you have here.
It will be if we ever get it finished. There's still several floors under construction.
There was a building which was being built by Fox. It was, Fox Plaza right in Century City, which was literally going up. So we decided to shoot some of those scenes in what we called Nakatomi Plaza.
They had this building, right on the lot, and it was a gorgeous building, and it had everything that we needed.
They're very protective. We had to guarantee them not a scratch.
At that time, there was a big, actually, show business legal firm moved into that building, which had a lot of clients at Fox, too, but none of them were on our movie.
I remember a friend of mine was working there. I guess the people weren't too happy that were in the building that they were shooting this movie.
It was trouble. It was difficult. And there were people at the lot. I mean, Barry Diller himself was not happy about a movie in that building.
Is the building on fire?
No, but it's gonna need a paint job and a shitload of screen doors.
It was weird because we were being pulled in and out, and we were just trying to do the best we could with, which, by the way, not a lot of money from today's standpoint to make that picture.
This is Richard Thornburg, live from Century City.
It seemed to me that the scale of the movie goes up if it's an iconic structure. The Die Hard building, I wanted to use it because loads of people had looked at it and could see it, and thereafter could look and say, that was where that happened.
I was a very big fan of Frank Lloyd Wright, and we knew that the Japanese culture was a big fan of Frank Lloyd Wright. When you look at the office of Nakatomi, it has a sense of falling water, which is a very famous Frank Lloyd Wright house.
In the atrium, we reproduced Falling Water. Frank Lloyd Wright was nuts about Japan, and Japanese architecture was a huge influence for him as well.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes, it was something that I was intrigued with, but it worked for our story that a Japanese culture tries to Americanize itself for its American audience.
It's Die Hard for us. Is there anything better than jingle bells and action? It's just something about that just goes together so very well.
Schießt dem Fenster. Shoot the glass.
Die Hard worked really well. People really enjoyed it and loved it, so it had a kind of cachet. So as long as you're going to make a movie that takes place in a confined space, they Die Hard in a blank, they say that.
It's Die Hard and that's become a joke in Hollywood.
Die Hard on a boat.
Die Hard in an aquarium.
Die Hard's in space.
Die Hard on a train.
Die Hard on an island.
There's Die Hard in a plane in the air.
Die Hard on Air Force One.
Die Hard in the White House. They're making Die Hard in the White House now.
What the fuck?
6 years ago, I get a call from a producer that says, you should do what you write. And I've got the script. It's right up your alley. It's a big action movie. Fix the script and you can direct it. I'll say, okay, what is it? He said, it's Die Hard in a building.
Did it change the history of American action films? You bet it did.
I got the tickets right here.
Audiences have come to expect a certain kind of ride from the Die Hard films that you can't get anywhere else. They don't disappoint. That's why when you're clicking around and a Die Hard film is on, you stop clicking. You go, oh, okay, here we go.
You are about to have a very bad day.
I do not feel that Die Hard with a Vengeance is as good as the first film. But I think as a sequel to it, I think it's pretty damn good.
Hello, John McClane.
I think they have a mixture of style and wit and charm, well acted, wonderfully constructed, good characters, which is very potent.
I know what a TV dinner feels like.
Any impossible situation that you're in, you have to figure out, how do I get out of this thing? What do I do, to survive? And I think that that's the reason why Die Hard can be put into any situation and carry it on.
I think people are always curious to see, where can you take this next?
Each Die Hard is getting bigger and bigger. I think it's a shock effect, is what I think people like about Die Hard.
The fact that they're making a fifth movie, I think most people involved with the franchise are just thrilled and appalled all at the same time.
With the fifth Die Hard movie, John McClane will have been on movie screens in 4 consecutive decades. So I don't think it's ever going to go away.
Hal Powell is a character that I will carry with me for the rest of my life, and I don't mind it whatsoever. It's sort of a cult hero. I appreciate the attention. But God, it's hard to die, this film. Hard to die.
Now there are only 5 of them. It was just so important.
I hear all the time, hey, Argyle, sometimes, people are like, you drive my limo? And I'm like, only in the movies. It's just great to be a part of it,
Well, I used to say it looks great on my resume. Now I'm saying, geez, it's going to look great on my obituary, so.
I just try to make a movie that I'd like to go see. You just take the toolkit you have and the circumstance you have and do the best you can.
Following in John McTiernan's footsteps was a huge thing for me, and a lot of pressure. And at the same time, I felt like, okay, he made a great movie, and he's made many great movies, but I'll just take everything that I love about cinema and I'll put it into this film. Die Hard 2 has a very special place in my life and in my career, and it's really fond memories. I'm proud of it.
The best kind of reaction you can get is people say, I wanted to hate it. I was really pissed off that they were, doing the sequel and what they were doing with it. But it reminds me of the first one. It reminds me of the first one. It was a lot of what we got, which is like, oh, that's great. So that was really rewarding.